Hello, my name is Brian Warner. I'm a Navy veteran and a real estate broker in the state of Florida, as well as a realtor. And I'd like to talk to you today about the VA home loan entitlement. There's lots of things that we can teach you on the process of getting your new home. And we call this the best practices class because there are many ways to get from A to B. Okay? If you spend a little time with me today, hopefully you can save thousands of dollars. So, what's a VA home loan, anyways? The VA loan was created in 1944, the GI Bill, when we had lots of soldiers and sailors coming home, and Marines too. I forget Marines, merchant Marine as well, came home and they didn't have very much money. So this plan helped them get into a home. Okay, it's a home loan specifically created for veterans and active duty service members for a primary residence. Okay, the VA loan so different? Well, there's no PMI, which is private mortgage insurance. The lenient guidelines make it easy, as well as zero down payment. That's a no-brainer. So I don't. I have to make sure that everybody understands that the VA doesn't loan money. You don't go to the VA to get a VA loan. Okay, it's done by a third party, and so the VA does not loan. They don't approve loans. They do provide standards, and they do guarantee the loan. That's what we want to take away from this particular slide. And we have in the state of Florida, we have Florida Military Specialist certification by the Florida Realtors, and another realtor certification. This one comes from the National Association of Realtors, is the MRP, the Military Relocation Professional. Big tip here, guys and gals. Use a realtor with these certifications. That shows that that realtor went that extra mile to help you get into your home. Okay, so some of our goals today, we're going to find out about the advantages to using a VA home loan, steps to buying a home, and realtor role of buyer agent, buyer agency, very important, and then things to look out for when purchasing a home. Of course, we mentioned before no down payment. Some of these advantages are great. You have competitive interest rates, no prepayment penalties, no PMI. It's relatively easy to qualify for a VA loan. You select your lender, limited closing costs with an asterisk, and I'll show you just a moment why I have that asterisk there. No cash reserve required, and there's higher loan amounts than with FHA. You can combine a VA loan with a VA grant, and VA loans are assumable. Okay? Now, the limited closing costs, there may not be any closing costs if you have a service-connected disability. Then you're exempt from paying that funding fee, which can save 2 to 3% of your purchase price, which could be quite a lot of money. There are three specific grants that are available to veterans across the U.S. One is the Specially Adapted Housing to construct a specially adapted home. The second one is a special housing adaptation to adapt an existing home. And of course, the third one is called a temporary residence adaptation, which you basically can change a family member's home for the veteran. In the state of Florida, there are certain benefits to owning real estate. If you're a veteran, you have $5,000 exemption with a service-connected disability, and that continues on with a surviving spouse, by the way. Combat-related disability and the deployed service member, you need to contact the county to find out more about those programs because it's a sliding scale. And of course, the service-connected disability at 100%, you pay no taxes in the state of Florida. That's a fantastic opportunity. So, how do you get into a loan right now? So, it's based on your income to debt, and that has to be generally lower than about 43%. I've seen some lenders go to 45, but generally we're going to stick with 41 for my example. So let's say your annual income is 48,000. You divide it by 12 to get your monthly income. That's $4,000, and then we're going to multiply that by the 0.41. That was the percent on the last screen that we talked about for the percentage rate. That is comes out to be $1,640. So if your monthly debt obligation is no more than $1,640, then you'll be able to qualify for VA loans. If you have any questions about any of this, guys, give me an email. You can give me a call, text, anything you want. Here's a great screen grab that I got from credit.com. I could probably spend a half hour analyzing this, but we're just going to cut right to the chase. The VA on the bottom here is the best way to go as far as your monthly payment. And so for each one of these, the FHA, USDA, conventional, and VA, there's all kinds of different rules that are going to apply here. We're going to focus on the VA, okay? All these were made from the same deal, 200,000 at 30 years with a 4.75% interest rate with estimated property tax and insurance. You can see that those are all the same here, okay? Um, if you're service connected, remember there's no funding fee, so that $6,600 goes away, which lowers your principal and interest and your monthly payment. So you can see how really great it is to use this VA loan. So what's the first thing that you want to do when you want to go? And in this part here, I asked the class and they put their hands up, and I've had all kinds of responses such as go look at homes, start looking on the web. But the best one would be to either contact a realtor or just go ahead and get your COE and get it out of the way. COE is a certificate of eligibility. You could do either one of these two things first. So we'll talk about the COE. Let's talk about the certificate of eligibility. So back in the day, you used to have to bring in your DD-214, and the finance agent would help you get your COE, and it took usually a couple weeks. Nowadays, you can actually just go online to ebenefits.va.gov. By the way, create an account there. It's a fantastic way to see what's going on with all of your accounts with the VA. You've established that account. Um, if you don't have a computer, just use your DD-214. I mentioned that earlier. So how do you get your certificate of eligibility? Here's the eBenefits portal. After you log in, you're going to see actually you can see it before you log in. Down here, certificate of eligibility. I'll make it a little bigger for you to see. COE. You click that button, and it's very simple. Within just a few minutes, if you've never had a loan before, within a few minutes you'll be generated a COE. If you've had a house before, they want to check and see if it's been paid off. And in my case, this is my COE here. It took about, I think, a day or two, and then they sent it to me on email. So that's fantastic, right? Now, the next step is your letter of pre-approval. So listen to your loan officer. If you don't have one, talk to your realtor about getting one. If you have one, listen to what they have to say. Get them what they need. Be sure to set up deadlines for yourself and follow up to make sure that nothing falls between the cracks here. And you need this letter of pre-approval before you can start looking at homes, believe it or not. So once you have that, we're ready for the next step. Now let's make pretend that you didn't have a realtor. Now you're going to want to look for your realtor. Certifications and qualifications are going to be very important. Experience, specialist, what's an affinity program, knowledge and trust. So we talked a little bit about certifications earlier, the MRP and the FMS. I've had people tell me that they want me to help them because I'm prior military, and that means a lot to them. But I have to hand it to you. There are some really well qualified folks that are not prior military. So something to think about when you're interviewing your agents. Buyer agent role, and then what is a realtor anyway? I'll go over some of those things. Realtor is somebody who has passed the Florida State Sales Associate exam and has sworn to a code of ethics. Now, in order to become a realtor, you must be a Florida Sales Associate, and you got to be 18 years of age, get a high school diploma or equivalent, U.S. Social Security number, complete the class. It's 63 hours, and you have to pass the course. Once you do that, you can sit for the Florida State exam, And if you get a 75 or better, then you become a sales associate. Now, one step above that, and I hate to say that there's a hierarchy here, but the next step would be to be a realtor, and there's actually 17 different sections broken down. And basically, I'm just going to read the first one here. Pledge to put the interests of buyers and sellers ahead of their own and to treat all parties honestly. Okay, there's lots that the realtors have to learn and abide by when they become a realtor. So, buyer agent versus a listing agent. There are two sides to a transaction. You have the listing side, who's the lady or gentleman that lists the house for sale in the MLS. And then you have the buyer agent that represents the buyer. Sometimes they're the same person in a transaction, sometimes they're not. There should technically be no benefit going directly to a listing agent if you want to see a house. It may sometimes even be easier to you have your buyer agent do all the work for you ahead of time to set up the appointment. So if you're interviewing somebody that's a buyer agent and a listing agent at the same time, which is fine, you might want to ask them how many listings they currently have, because if they've got 20, having five, believe me, five listings is a lot of work, and you're going to be on the phone quite a bit. So, take that into consideration. Buyers agents specifically help buyers. Years versus energy level. Now, this goes both ways. If you meet somebody that's young, you know, maybe their energy would be something great to help you. If you find that you're working with an older person, their experience can count. Okay, so make sure these are some things just to think about when you're talking to your to your realtor. Broker versus sales associate. Well, we know what a sales associate is. A broker is somebody who has been experienced being a sales associate for 2 years, and then they have to take another exam, and that's that's the difference between a sales associate and a broker. Team and individual. Sometimes you'll be working with one person throughout the process, and other times you'll be working with assistants. And so here's another tip for you. Try to secure your own buyer agent as soon as you can in this process to have things go smoothly for you. Okay? Some other questions you might want to ask the agent is how many VA deals have they done before? Maybe they know the ratio of VA versus non-VA. It's a good question to ask. It's okay to use a specialist, somebody that just does VA loans, but it's not necessarily required. And a contract to close a single point of contact. What I mentioned earlier, beware there may be several people involved in your transactions. Now, Affinity Program. A big part of this class is for the buyer, caveat emptor, which means buyer beware. Okay. And I want to make sure that you understand that the corporation now is going to select your realtor or broker if you sign an agreement with a credit union or a bank. And there's usually a rebate or an incentive involved, which, I mean, you can you can negotiate that with your realtor and your finance broker. Um, don't let the corporation do it for you. Okay, corporation would retain proceeds from your agent, as well as most likely get the deal, the actual loan. So, just a note: this may not provide you with the best representation. It takes your selection out of the process, and that's not really fair. It's okay to say no to an affinity program. When you go to the bank, they usually have a little advertisement there talking about their program. I've seen it too, and a lot of times some of the agents that work at the bank don't understand how it works either. Uh, but it is what it is. You're in charge of this transaction. Once you agree to an affinity program, you're no longer in charge. That corporation is. When you're selecting your realtor, make sure that you pick one that's familiar with the area that you're going to be buying in. Okay? Make sure that the agent answers your question timely and to your satisfaction. Are they going to make themselves available for you? What are the limitations? Are there any limitations? Process familiarity. Do they know what's going to happen next? Trust. Realtor and trust have to go together hand in hand. So trust is a very important part of this process. You're relying heavily on guidance from the agent, and you must have a good report. So home shopping, this is the fun part, right? Check your email often. Very often you're going to end up getting a notification in your portal about a new house, and you're going to want to look at it right away. In some markets, a house may last only a day or so. Tell your agent the best way to get a hold of you. Texting, phone call, you know, whatever works for you. Use the portal that the agent gives you. And then, of course, check all disclosures before making an offer. You want to make sure that the house is going to pass the VA standard. All right, your contract. This is the exciting part. This is when your realtor is going to ask you the questions. And it's always good to talk about this ahead of time. What sort of contract dates? Are you going to be going on vacation during a certain time? And again, did you review those disclosures? If you didn't, then as soon as you're under contract, you're going to request those disclosures on the property and plan accordingly. Remember, if you have had a long weekend plan, you may want to change your plans. Now, here's a great tip. You can buy a new home, new construction home with your VA loan. It's a great way to go. As a matter of fact, that's happened almost to every realtor that I know, that the buyer goes and seeks a new home builder, and the realtor, boom, gets cut out of the process. Don't let that happen, because your realtor can help you with that new home. You're dealing strictly with the builder at that point. So your realtor can help you with some of the pitfalls that happen when you buy a new home. Okay, listen to this one. If you're buying a brand new home and they're offered $10,000 in free upgrades and $7,500 in closing cost assistance, but you have to use their lender, be sure to get another estimate for financing before you jump. You remember, you're in charge here. More steps to buying a home. The appraisal. Now it's time for the appraisal, and that's when they come in with their checklist. They make sure the house is basically move-in ready. It has to be safe, and it has to fit all of the items on the appraiser's checklist. Now, the difference between the appraisal and inspection is the inspector is looking for the functionality of things. Hey, this is broken. Hey, this doesn't work like it's supposed to. Where the appraiser's coming in, he's merely looking at his checklist of items. Do the windows go up and down? There's a bevy of things that appraiser is going to be looking for. Hot water. And then you have loan approval. Is when you get your clear to close, you go straight to closing day. Great. Okay, so I want to emphasize this. The buyer agent realtor role. Okay, a buyer agent is an agent specifically trained to help represent buyers in a real estate transaction. A realtor can assist buyers with the purchase of the property and should cost the buyer nothing. So you can shop around and find yourself a buyer agent, or you can let the company pick one for you. You make up your mind. When a home is normally listed for sale, the buyer agent commission is already pre-negotiated. Remember, new homes count too. Okay? Buyer agent's going to help you pre-contract, reviewing those disclosures, showing you the properties, obviously, drafting the offer, and helping you with the counter offer and any other negotiations. Once you're under contract, your realtor is going to help you place your escrow, help remove the contingencies to move to close, help you select an inspector, coordinate that inspection, negotiate inspection deficiencies, and order that WDO. We call these WDOs wood destroying organism inspections, and they're really important. They're looking to make sure that there's no termites, there's no wood rot, things of that nature. Then we move to close. So here's some folks that we've closed with our business. Some veterans. These are all fantastic days. So one of the most important things I want you to take away from this is remember that you're in charge. Things move very quickly once you're under contract. Use a realtor, remember, preferably certified. Note and be aware of buyer agency and interview your realtor. Okay, it's very possible you might not want to work with the first one that you've met. Ask for references or referrals. Think before you sign any affinity type agreement where you're promised money back. New construction incentives for using in-house financing, carefully consider that. Many companies pretend to be VA authorized or act as the VA itself, and that's a big problem. In the military, we do what we're told, and we have our instructions in front of us. So we're kind of pre-programmed already, you know. So I want to undo some of that programming. Be aware of refinancing offers from companies that are too good to be true, such as skipping your payment, escrow refund, low interest without other specifics, and aggressive sales tactics. Remember, you're in charge. Things move very quickly once you're under contract, and we'd like to help you get you under contract quickly. My name is Brian Warner. I'm a broker associate with Florida International Real Estate, and you can feel free to call me at 407-394-4754 or at brian.warner@fla-intl.com. I'll answer your questions. If you have any comments or you want to just talk to me, you can feel free to give me a call. Thank you. Hope you learned something great.